Good afternoon, YouTube. My name is Brandon, and I have a little bit of buffing and polishing to do on some plastics that you can see just over my shoulder here. So I figured this would be a great opportunity to try out a 7-inch electronic polisher buffer that I picked up from Harbor Freight. Stick around. So this is what we're working on, guys. We've got some plastics that are off the tractor rebuild that we're doing. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link somewhere up in here for that. But look how oxidized they are, and they need attention. So you can see how good it looks on the inside of the hood and cowling piece, but look how bad it is on the outside. So I figured what we'd do is try polishing these up and buffing them, so give us a good opportunity to try out this buffer that I just picked up from Harbor Freight. So in full disclosure, I paid for this using my own money. This isn't a sponsored video, and these are the details of it. Let's crack this juliper open, see what it looks like. So it comes with a pad, a hook and loop. So like Velcro, hook and loop. This is heavy. It actually feels powerful. It feels strong. It feels solid. Yeah, the cord feels all right. Flexible enough. It's not one of those super hard, stiff cords. How do you turn this juliper on? How do you turn on this juliper? Does anybody know? There's no trigger. You can see it's got a digital display. Oh, that's cool. Alright, so what happens if I had it set at 10, let's turn it back on. Yeah, you gotta start over every time. Well, we'll see how long that lasts. Let's give her a whirl. While I was there, I picked up a foam cutting pad. We'll give that a whirl too. Alright guys, so let's get started in this. Now, I have to say, for me, this was probably one of my more favorite videos that I've done in a while, simply because I was learning during this process. I've never ever done this before. So what I'm doing here is to my right, I've got a bucket of water, just warm water with some soap in it, and I've got 150 grit, just regular sandpaper. Now, the idea is that I'm going over this with the sandpaper, then just wetting it periodically like there, and I'm taking off that oxidized layer on the top. But microscopically, when I'm taking off that layer of oxidization, I'm actually putting scratches in that plastic. So although the plastic is turning from the oxidized white back to the yellow, it has scratches that are left from the 150 grit sandpaper. So what I do is I start out with 150, then I progress to 220, which is a higher grit, meaning that it's a higher number, meaning that it's a finer grit. So the 220 is taking out the scratches left by the 150 grit sandpaper. So with each progression of sandpaper, the finer the sandpaper that you go, the better finish that you get. So in this, as I said, I start out at 150, and my goal is to just get everything off that I can get off. Then I go to 220, which gets out the 150 scratches. Then I think I went to 320, then 400 grit. Here I'm trying out a sanding sponge. Now that's made for drywall. That worked actually really good, but that was a used sanding sponge, so I think if I had a brand new one that would have worked really well. That's probably equivalent to 150 grit. That worked good for getting down inside those like little vent pieces and the little tight areas that the sandpaper was hard to get in. That little foam piece, you can just kind of like push it down inside those little vents. So that really worked good for areas that are really tight. And then after I finished with 320, then I went to 400, then I went to 1500. Now the 1500 grit sandpaper is so fine that it's taking out the last little bit of scratches. It actually, it's almost like squeaky clean at that point. As you're sanding it, it's actually like squeaking. Here I'm taking out the lenses so I could do the same thing with those lenses. I didn't start at 150 with those lenses, and I don't show you me doing that, but I started with 1500, then I just buffed them. There's my 320. Then I go to 400, then 1500. Then once I'm at the 1500 grit, I wipe it all down, and then I go to an even finer, which is a pad glaze. It's a liquid polishing compound that I put on the buffer pad and go over it. Now that actually that you see there is actually shine. That's not water being applied onto the plastic making it look shiny. That's actually shine itself. Now I move on to the rest of the other plastics, like the cowling, all the individual pieces separately. It's all the same process. I'm doing it all the same way. But when your final step is, I put on like a little wool pad and I just go over it and buff it all out. Look how good those lenses look. I mean, this thing looks almost brand new. Now, before I show you guys what this looks like all finished, let me show you real quick what we started out with. And here is the finished product, guys. What do you think of this? Hard to believe what we started out with and what we have right now. It's not 100% perfect, but it is probably 99%. It could be gotten 100% perfect, but look at the reflections in the hood. You can see the trees, you can see your reflection in it. This came out awesome. And this will stay good for years to come. And this doesn't even have wax on it yet. I put a coat of wax on this, and it's just going to be shinier, and it'll help protect it too. And I also did the headlights. Did the headlights the same way. I just used 1500 grit wet sandpaper and then polished them the same way I polished those. So yeah, not too bad compared to what we started with. And this doesn't have to be just tractor hoods too. This could be ATV plastic, this could be motorcycle plastic, this could be anything that's plastic, as long as the plastic that you're working with is a solid color throughout. It can't be a plastic that is just a color on top, because if you sand it through, this is solid color all the way through. If you keep sanding and keep sanding and keep sanding, eventually you're just going to sand through the other side. So yeah, there it is. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tune in next week where we are going to fabricate some hood hinges for this. And if you guys want to see what I'm working on before it even makes it up to YouTube, you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day. See ya.